A custom Honda CB650 is definitely not for everyone. There are many people who would love to have one, especially if it was one made by a professional builder. Unfortunately, there are always several reasons that prevent this from happening. In most cases, it is for monetary reasons, lack of patience to wait several months, legal restrictions, and so on. But today's project could be the right solution. Let's just say, it's that type of build which changes the rules of the game. Welcome to Racertv. So, is this a Honda CB650? No, it's a bloody masterpiece. It's like someone took a perfectly decent bike and said, "Nah, that's not good enough. Let's make it sexy." And boy, they really did it. I never thought the Honda CB650 could look so cool. The kind of bike that makes you want to put on a leather jacket, a pair of sunglasses, and just ride off into the sunset. This awesome project was built in Brazil, with a partnership between Renato Frateschi from Frateschi Garage and the Illustrator Magentaking. But none of this would have happened if it weren't for the sponsors. Thanks to Honda Brazil, they created the Wing Crafters customization program. 4 teams made up of a customizer and an artist gained complete freedom to modify 4 Hondas. Although all projects ended up being really good, this is the one closest to the CAF racer authenticity. Not to mention the very interesting way it was built. Because Renato had something of a secret weapon. Several machines that seemed to create everything from nothing. A sort of personal magic workshop. In other words, several state-of-the-art 3D printers from Creality, and a new high-resolution 3D scanner. But before we get into this, let's rewind and ask the burning question. How did Renato and Magentaking arrive at these lines? Imagine you've got a blender, a really big blender, and you throw in a brand new Honda CB650, a 1970 racing version of the CB750, and a CB4 Interceptor concept. What do you get? Well, you get a recipe for a really good-looking Honda. But what makes all of this even more impressive is that the frame structure is completely original from the factory. Nothing was changed. Not even a single electrical wire. For many people, this is the factor that makes this entire project extremely interesting. Because it's also like a slap in the face for those who think it is not possible to modify a motorcycle without going against legal requirements nonsense. Yes, the license plate and rear turn signals are missing. But that's because the rear fender is not mounted yet. Until then, let's just pretend it's a high-speed version, specialized in evading the police.
Driver, pull over now!
Jokes aside, all the modifications were made with the goal of keeping the factory warranty. Although I'm sure it won't be necessary. After all, it's a Honda, the Toyota of motorcycles. But even if the original frame structure was not modified, doesn't mean this was an easy build. Personally, I think this project was brilliantly well thought out. Because with just a few items, it managed to completely transform the original Honda. As usual, the secret is in the details. First of all, notice how this line resembles the silhouette on the racing fairing of the old CB750. The rear cowl is also very interesting. Basically, it was designed to fit into the passenger seat supports, which means that this lower section remains unchanged, except for the painting. The seat is obviously custom, but to simplify things, the base is still the one that came from the factory. The semi-fairing is the real showstopper. Paying close attention, you can see the inspiration in the beautiful Interceptor concept. But Renato was very clever in aligning these lines with the rest of the bike. Aesthetically, it is a very well done piece. And that transparent ring on the front is the icing on the cake. The belly pan is also a great solution for placing the bike closer to the ground without changing the suspension. To achieve a more vintage look, two beautiful spoked wheels and several polished details to match. To show a more human connection and to the history of Honda in Brazil, Magentaking put his Illustrator talent around the gas tank. As I explained a moment ago, the secret weapon of this project is 3D printing. Do you remember when in my last video, I said this Yamaha was an investment of knowledge for Renato? Well, looks like the investment paid off this time. With all the support from Creality, he had access to the best 3D printers and a high-definition scanner. I believe you already know how the whole process works. If you don't, try watching my video about the Yamaha R&D Turbo, also made by Frateschi Garage. So, as you see here, the entire fairing was made in 12 different sections, all printed with ABS filament, which is basically the same type of plastic used in original factory parts. And believe it or not, this transparent ring was also 3D printed. But there is more. The entire structure that supports the headlight, the digital display, and the fairing was 3D printed with carbon fiber, which ended up being made on a CNC milling machine. And to finish with a flourish, something that has probably never been done on a custom motorcycle. Notice this small section behind the seat. It was also 3D printed. But what makes it very interesting is the fact that it made of rubber. Yes, there are 3D laser printers that print parts in rubber and in several different colors. All of this makes us rethink the direction that motorcycle customization will take in the future. And it looks like Frateschi Garage is ahead of the curve, because all the parts that transformed this Honda CB650 will be available for sale. Basically, it will be a plug-and-play kit, with which in a few hours, your Honda will be sexier than ever. And for all this, I just have to congratulate Renato for his insight, talent, and very good taste. Thank you for watching Racertv. And as always, I hope to see you on the next video.